What's going on, guys? Stock Easy here, and you did see it right. I have been shooting a ton of film lately and developing my own color. I used to develop my own black and white, but as of right now, I'm developing my own color film. And I made this decision recently to invest more time in things that I felt like I couldn't invest time in before. Considering that I was living in Manhattan and my studio was in Chinatown, I always kind of was running around, and my studio didn't really have a sink or anything like that, so it was really difficult to develop any type of film there. Plus, it's an incredibly tedious, time-consuming endeavor. And if you are somebody who is really, really good at it and has been doing it for years, then obviously you can do it like a well-oiled machine. I'm not that guy. I haven't developed color film since high school. So the process for me tends to be a little more cumbersome and sometimes a little bit of trial and error. I don't have it going like a well-oiled machine. With that said, a year back, maybe more, I watched a video from Matt Day. Shout out to Matt Day. He did a video about digitizing his film. It originally was called scanning his film, and I guess a lot of people on the internet didn't like the fact that he was saying that, you know, the way he was going about it was scanning, so he changed it to digitizing, which is totally fine. So this is my version of what he did, except I'm taking it and I'm just injecting a little bit of steroids into the situation. Yeah, I want to take you guys inside in just a second, but before I do that, I want to talk about the camera and what I've been shooting for a little bit. So lately, I've been shooting with my Leica M7. To me, this is my favorite Leica film camera next to the MP. I don't really care too much for the M6. When I'm out shooting street photography, I like to shoot at aperture priority, just like my digital cameras. Sometimes I'll shoot manual when I grab a portrait from somebody or something like that, but for the most part, aperture priority. I know all the settings. I'm not in school. I'm not trying to teach myself anything about photography. I just want to get the photo. So when you are in a state of learning, feel free to manual everything like I did, because as everybody says, you learn it and then you unlearn it and you just do what works for you, right? Don't skip those steps. Those are necessary steps to learning photography and, you know, your exposure triangle and yada, yada, yada. Learn those things. But then once you know them, fuck them. Anyway, shooting with the Leica M7, and one of the roles that I developed and scanned was Fuji Superior. Shout out to Gajin for hooking me up. I'm still moving through those roles. Actually, I shot the very last roll of this film while I was in New York, and Gajin had hooked me up way back when I was in Toronto. He blessed me with a bunch of these rolls from Henry's Photo, so shout out to them and shout out to Gajin. The second roll that I developed was Portrait, which I rated at 200. Actually, both of these rolls are rated at 200. I'm not sure that the the Fuji Soup should be rated at 200 because it seemed to break down a bit. I haven't scanned the Portrait stuff yet, and I've never shot Portrait at 200. I know that's how everybody shoots it, but I also don't really shoot Portrait. Every time I ever shot film, it was in black and white. So when I would develop, I would use the Cinestill DF96 monobath, and that's how I developed. Yeah, what else? Let's go inside to my office real quick. It's a little bit messy in there. This isn't my house that I'm staying at right now, though we are the only ones staying here, but aesthetically, it's not my place. So I'm gonna take you guys inside and we're gonna start scanning some film, and I'm gonna show you my roughly this is a $5,000, it's about a $5,000, it's a $5,000 print digitizing technique. All right, let's go inside. So this is everything that you need to start scanning. Obviously, you don't need a medium format digital camera to scan your film, but it is really nice to get an extension tube that is made by the same manufacturer as your camera, or a high quality one. Otherwise, you're gonna get some vignetting. I bought some back in the day for my Fuji X-T2, some like JJC ones off Amazon, and the edges were incredibly soft and it did not work. Another thing that you're gonna need is one of these little hot shoe levels. So I usually just put it in the hot shoe and make sure that my camera's nice and level, which I haven't done yet. I'm gonna do that real quick and make sure that we're still cooking, and we are not. This is really bad. Cool. Okay, all the pieces that I just showed in that intro, I'm gonna put down below in the description so you can swap them out again. This is overkill. I'm just doing this for fun. I wanted to see what this will be, and maybe I'll do a follow-up video about showing how large these can actually print once I do these scans. Okay, so let's just jump on here right now. I have this recording my screen at the moment, and as you can see, these are some really nice files. There's some really, really good detail to these files, and this is something that I used in an app called FilmLab, which I'll also link below. And these are some scans that I did and color graded on my own. Let me show you a couple of these. These are the ones that I like a little bit more. These have like a very natural feel to them, almost like Astia. And these were actually very difficult for me to replicate again, which is why I was led to FilmLab. So what I'm gonna do real quick is show you my full process of converting a file from taking it and digitizing it and then converting the negative in Capture One. And then I'm gonna show you what FilmLab does, because it's actually a really easy technique and I prefer it. It's less of a headache and it's less time consuming to get the colors just right. So again, here you go. These are the ones that I converted on my own. Some of them came out a-okay, some of them not so much. They're not bad. It's a good starting point. I could tinker a lot more. So now that we have this lined up here, I want to show you guys the section of Capture One that you're going to need to get familiar with. So up here on the left is the Capture Pilot tab. So when you click that, you're going to get all your information about your camera. You're going to get your shutter speed, you're going to get your f-stop and your ISO, and you can change all this. Another really cool thing about this is this video here. This is what I use to fine-tune my focusing when I'm scanning negatives, or photographing negatives, I should say. What's happening right now is I click in, you can see the camera's actually zooming in with the app digitally because it's controlling the camera when you're tethered. It's actually really incredible. So basically what I would do here is fine tune my focus and make sure things are looking razor sharp, and that looks pretty good to me. Unfortunately, side note, I did a recording on this previously, and when I open up that extra box, because I'm doing screen capture of Capture One, that box does not pop up, unfortunately, so I can't show you that. If you have a camera that tethers, you should go play around with that feature. It's very cool. So let's go ahead and take our first photo. Obviously, if we click this button right here, this is going to shoot the camera off, which is amazing. So we get no shake, no human error. This just shoots on its own, and we get a nice large preview immediately, and boom, there's our file straight off the bat. Now what you're seeing here, the reason why this is already being converted is because down here in my capture adjustments, you can see I have in the metadata, it says copy from last and all other copy from last. That's a really good technique that you can use if you are working with clients, if you're working with a model on set and you're tethering and you don't just want raw images coming out. You want actually really nice edited images so people can see what's close to the final product of your shoot. So I set that when I'm doing that type of work, but right now this is not going to help when converting 35mm negatives, because the nuance of the color needs to be perfect. All the white balance isn't going to just carry over and work seamlessly because we don't know what that image is, so it's not a whole copy and apply. It just doesn't work that way. So what we're going to do is Control R. We're going to completely reset this image, and there you go, we have a negative again, and we're going to start from the top, the tippy. So first things first, we're going to do our white balance pick, boom, right up here. That is fantastic. Next thing you do is crop your image and get rid of all of that image. You don't want any negative in there. Boom, boom, little dirt on there, no big deal. Cool, our image is cropped now. The next thing That was weird. The next thing that you want to do is come over here to your base characteristics tab, your Icc Profiles, because right now it's set to Fuji generic. So this is basically telling Fuji telling Capture One how to handle their files. We don't want that. So we're going to go to Effects, and we're going to say no color correction. Don't make it look like Fuji. Linear response. Flat scans. It's going to be as flat as it possibly can be, right? So you can see how that's affected it already. Okay, so first things first is we're going to tell the program that black is white and white is black now. So it's been completely inverted, and then we're going to go through on our tab here and adjust the blacks, the shadows, and the whites, the highlights, to where the peaks start. It's a very light color grading here happening. And okay, now as you can see, I'm going to go backwards. This is a very flat scan. This is as if you were shooting a raw file or if you were shooting log. That's why it looks completely washed out like that. We have to now add contrast and saturation and introduce that for the look that we want. So just to show you, if we go back to our base characteristics tab right here, and we were to take off linear response, and we went back to auto, that's the image that we would be getting. Extra shadow, film high contrast, yada, yada, yada. We can go back to classic chrome. We can do all the Fuji things right here if we wanted to, but we chose linear response, so we're going to keep that. Okay, so here's something that I want to show you now when you're working with this stuff, because once you invert the file, up is down, down is up, black is white, and white is black. So if I want to increase my exposure or decrease my exposure, I have to drag it in the opposite direction. So if I go up in exposure, the exposure go down, right? Look at that. Right? Now, if I want to increase my brightness or take down my brightness, I have to go up, brightness goes down, right? We're going to go back here to our color wheels just to do a little highlight adjustment. I'm going to bring my highlights down just a bit, and I'm going to bring my midtones down just a bit. Okay, so things are looking a little healthy now. This is the part where I would start to tinker with my colors individually to try to get them to look really nice. For example, I would go here to my blues and I would decrease the saturation, decrease the lightness on my blues and push up the saturation. And I can, because this is a really large file and there's room to play, we can even change the colors of our blue. As you see, some magenta and purple hues are coming through there, or we can make it nice and teal. We don't want to do any of that. We want to keep it nice and blue. And obviously this is looking so cold, so we're going to warm it up a little bit. And again, things are in reverse. So if I push to the left, we're adding some warmth. I see a lot of magenta, so I'm going to push in the opposite direction and add a bit of green to start balancing this out. Now, there's a lot of yellow hues here, right? There's some browns and oranges, some magentas in her hair. Quick way to grab colors and adjust them if you're uncertain of what it is that you're actually seeing is you grab this color selection tool, or as it says, direct color editor. And a nice little trick here is if you click and hold and pull down, you can increase or decrease the saturation, right? Now, if you go left and right, you can change the hue. Pretty cool. So I'm going to also turn down the lightness on, actually, we want some information there. That looks pretty good. Let's do the same on the hair. And obviously her hair and her skin tone are very, very similar. Okay. Let's pull the highlights down just a bit more to get some detail back in her hands here. And then we're going to go over to our contrast and see if we can mess around with this just a bit. And our blacks now control some of the highlights here, so we're bringing her hair back in there. And now you just got to kind of keep tinkering until you get this where you like it. As you can see, this is very, very time consuming, the tinkering and doing this on your own. But eventually it will get there and you will like what you're looking at. This is looking okay to me. I don't completely love it. I'm going to pull these back and see what's going on here with my colors because they're sliding all over the place. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what's going on here with the mids. We can pull the mids down just a bit. And then let's introduce a little more warmth into the scenario here. Oof, that's way too warm. Okay, now this is a difficult file to do this with. This is my fault because I chose a very high contrast situation to scan my negatives with, and I'm not a master of converting these negatives. So of course I'm running into a little bit of issues here, but that's the name of the game, and we must keep tinkering until we get it right. So I'm just going to keep messing around with these sliders here until I feel like we are in a healthy place.
A few moments later.
Okay, there we go. That is looking a little bit better for me. All right, so that is how you would convert these negatives. And again, if you zoom in and look at the detail on this hair, this is pretty incredible for a film scan. This is a full 50 megapixels here. And of course, I can add a little sharpness and some clarity here to make this pop just a little bit more. I'm not sure what this looks like on YouTube, but on my screen, this is looking pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, this is just, look at that. Look at the detail in her hair. This feels really nice and rich, and I really like that. So if you don't want to do this and you don't have that much time, there is this free app. Well, there's a free trial. It's called FilmLab. Now this is really fast. We're going to open this up, and I'm going to open up the exact same file. Let's open that up real quick, and we're going to let this app convert the file, and then we will switch back and forth and compare the two and see which scan is better. Now, as soon as you open up this app, it just converts your negative already. There it is. Look, I didn't have to do anything. This is a little bit bright for my taste, but again, the conditions that I shot in were a little bright, so I can't really complain here. Okay, so that is the FilmLab conversion, which took, what, 5 seconds? And here is mine, which, oof, man, this is hard to decide, to be honest. Well, you know what? Let's bring this one into Photoshop. We're going to save it as a TIFF, a 16-bit TIFF here. And we're going to put it in the exact same folder. And let's compare them side by side. And then we open up Capture again. And it should pop up. Oh, there it is. TIFF file. That looks really good. That's mine. That's the TIFF file. Mine, TIFF file. Everything looks really nice and crispy there. That is pretty cool. Let's scan one more file. Let's do something from the streets real quick, and we'll look at how that works in an environment that's not as contrasty as this. Okay, so we've got our next little slice of film in here. Excuse this wire as I am tethering to the computer right now. Let's line up our first shot here. Okay, cool. That's lined up here. I am going to check my focus over here on my end. Let's hit fire on this bad boy and see what happens when the same presets from our last image that we converted are carried over. Not good. Not good at all. In fact, it's terrible. So we're going to hit Control R on that. And we're going to just crop in just a bit before we take our white balance. I'm going to do this one real quick because I'm going to open it up in FilmLab in a second. So boom, we got that. Now let's crop in. Boom. Okay. Next step, you guys remember, white is black, black is white. Pull the colors in on the channels. Boom. Boom. And this is, oh, that's right. So one thing that I'm forgetting is that this is Fuji Superia, so this colors look very different from Portra. Okay, and I rated this film at 200, which it doesn't hold up the same way Portra does. Portra reacts as if it was meant to be shot at 200, but as you can see, this has introduced a whole lot of grain into this film just by pushing it one stop like that. Okay, But you know what? I'm actually not mad at the way this looks. It's a little magenta for my taste. So we're going to add some green here. A little bit of green, yes. Pull out some of this contrast. Brightness. Let's do that. And let's fine tune just a bit here. Okay. Just getting a lot of these blues out. Let's warm this up just a touch. All right. Not bad. Not bad at all. That looks okay. Just okay. Okay, so that was my quick go at it, trying to be as fast as this app. Now let's go ahead and open up FilmLab and do the exact same thing. We're going to pull this file in, and it should pop up any second now. And that's the FilmLab conversion, which, okay, obviously this is looking a wee bit crushed. I'm not a fan of how crushed it actually is. I'd pull a little contrast out of there. And I'm going to up the brightness just a tad, maybe even the exposure. Okay, so not bad either. Let's save this one and open that up in Capture One. And we're going to compare the two once it saves in. If it saves in. I know, it's taking a while. Come on. Oh, there it is. Boom. Okay. So, FilmLab, let's crop in. Let's make this just a little bit fair. FilmLab, mine. Oh, wow, mine is terrible. Oh my God, it's absolutely awful. Wow, this is so bad. Okay, so do yourself a favor. And if you're not a professional color grader, don't convert your own files. Look at that. What the fuck did I do wrong here? That looks so atrocious. My God, marron, what the hell? Oh man, I'm embarrassed, guys. I'm gonna leave this in here and let's just go back for a second. Oh, atrocious. Girl. Okay, let me know if you guys are interested in me doing a print on one of these eventually. But you know what? This was actually kind of fun, so let's scan one more file and see what that looks like, okay? Couple of knucklehead skaters. Couple of skater punks. Saw these kids ripping up through the Lower East Side, kind of wreaking havoc in the streets with a boombox. So I, whoops, look at me, rushing. So I asked them for a portrait. They were a little too cool. Eventually they said yes, and they let me pose them for this image. I do believe it is this one here in the center. Let's flip that back up so you guys can see what the hell's going on here. That seems about right. Let me stand up and fix this. Okay, that looks good to me. Huh. All systems go. Capture. Now it's going to try and copy the information from the TIFF file, which is not going to work at all. But, okay, so, okay, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. But, again, let me do it, and we're going to see how close we can get to FilmLab's excellence, as it is the reigning champ right now. Being beaten by an app. Maybe I should just hit auto on everything here. Leaving a little black in because I like it. Looks it. Let's try this a different way. Let's convert it this way, and then we're going to hit auto down here. And what do you know? Look at that. We started off pretty decent. That's pretty decent, right? That's not bad. It's a little blue. Let's warm it up. Oh, some magenta's coming through. Let's take away the magenta. some greens, even that out. Let's turn the exposure down. Let's get this nice and dark. Make it feel like a film lab scan, you feel me? Whites. Oh man, I've lost it on this one, guys. We are lost in the sauce here. And that is totally okay. Totally okay. Yuck. Okay, let's open this up in Film Lab. That's as much time as I want to be spending on converting a file. I'd like to color grade it, but if you're just trying to fix it, I don't know if you want to invest any more time than that. Here we go, the moment of truth. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. One thing I am noticing about these files, let's save that real quick. Okay, my file, oh God, it beats me every single time. But I'll be honest, if I spent an hour on this or more, I could have it looking really good. I would individually go in here and select every color on here and make it special. This is something that I like. But if you're just trying to get a quick scan out, and then this is a nice place to start, and then I could really come back in here and start fine-tuning this. For example, I'm not feeling the color of reds in this, so I would go back in here. I would select this red, and I would tone that down, push the saturation just a bit, and that's a small difference, but look at how rich that is already. So see that before, after, before, after. Also this orange sign in the background. Not feeling it, not feeling it. It's not the right orange. So we're gonna push it over just a bit, put the saturation up. See, now things are starting to look a bit more rich, and that is something that I do like. Even these greens in the tree, I push the saturation up just a little bit and darken that. Okay, so you get the idea. That's looking better, and this gives me a really good foundation to start with to just get to editing the file the way that I want to, instead of just converting the negative. Well, I guess that wraps this up. I failed miserably at color grading and converting these files. Thankfully, there are apps out there like Film Lab that you can use. There's a couple of plugins for Lightroom. I think the one in Lightroom might be called Dark Lab. Apparently a lot of people use that, and that one's incredible. I've seen Matt Day use that. This is my quick method of doing this. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to keep this going and do a print of one of these files and see how large it is, and maybe we can give that away. That'd be really cool. I have some 13x19 paper. I know I can print this on 13x19 paper. Maybe I can place an order for something a little bit larger. Maybe I'll send it to Gajan and we can do an even larger print and send that out. But hit the like button if you like it, man. This was a really cool video. I'm actually getting rid of this camera, so I wanted to make something about it and show you guys how I've been using it the last few months. Unfortunately, this isn't the most practical way to be using a medium format camera. It's just that I haven't been shooting portraits or anything like that lately because of COVID, and I never take this thing outside to shoot street. So it has become a glorified film scanner, unfortunately. I'm actually selling a lot of cameras and upgrading my entire system. So I got another video coming out about this soon, so stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.